This is the journey to One Africa.
Hey SNOA family, I'm very excited today and very inspired because we are all taking actions. We walk the talk. We don't just speak, but we put on the action. And that's one of the things that Africa we need today if we want to see the Africa we want. A couple of days ago, I was here sharing with you guys our intentions and plans to write a petition to the heads of states of Africa, to African Union, and to Pan-African Parliament, and to everybody out there to demand and ask for One Africa right now. As I'm saying right now, the petition is live and well. It's already live. It's going on right now. So one thing that you can do, make sure that you go, you hit that link, and make sure you read that petition. That's very important to understand what we are saying in that petition. And also you leave your signature. And not only that, but to share with everyone you know, because we need 100 million signatures for this petition to actually happen right now. We don't want One Africa in 2063. We want One Africa today. Everything that is going on right now in Niger, it's sad to see some of our neighbors, some of African countries, they are actually fighting against our own people in the continent. It's the time for Africans to come together and to fight enemies of Africa together. And I know I'm not naive. It's not going to be easy because the enemies of Africa are not just foreign interventions, are not just Westerners, are not just Easterners, but some enemies of Africa, they are here in the continent. I ain't going to mention them today because all of you guys, you know, I've been mentioning them all the time. Some of them, they are. But this petition is going to show who is the real enemy of Africa. We want 100. And this is what I'm grateful, man. This is not about me, but it's about all of us. We came together and we wrote this petition to make sure that we get 100 million signatures and even more than that, so that these guys can get our attention, that we demand One Africa right now. It's possible, it's doable, and these are the solution that we need to take and the stage that we need to take. So this is what I'm going to do for you right now. I'm going to read this petition for you guys to kind of understand a little bit of what we're saying. And then one thing you're going to do is you share this video, you share the link of this petition, and we get those signatures as soon as possible. Petition. The title of the petition is One Africa Right Now, not 2063. By SNOA, Swahili Nation One Africa, African Young Adults, and all the undersigned. So if you sign, you're part of this. To all Africans, head of states, the African Union and Pan-African Parliament. Preamble. We, the African citizen and One Africa advocates, working in unison toward realizing our aspiration for the Africa we want, have come together and are calling for a unified Africa, One Africa right now, and not 2063. Scope. Swahili Nation One Africa is a global initiative founded to unite Africa and explore the abundant opportunities that exist for all Africans, while harnessing the ideas of how best to be involved in the country's socioeconomic growth. SNOA advances an all-inclusive and participatory approach to reach all Africans across the globe through conversation and communal activities. The organization seeks to add every African voices to the platform, all who deserve a chance to be heard and included in deliberations that empower Africans to work in unity for prosperity. SNOA aims to unite Africans across diverse spheres through community activities and to share African narratives based on historical truth. SNOA believes that no one else can defend Africa but Africans. No one else can support Africa but Africans. No one can solve our problems but Africans. We set the agenda by Africans, about Africans, and for the Africans. SNOA takes pride in that Africa is our home, our heritage, and our pride. Through networking and collaborations with various stakeholders, SNOA is working toward a One Africa of solidarity in peace and love, and strive to defend the image and bring back all the heritage, sons and daughters of Africa, decolonize the mind through authentic knowledge, and to create a bridge for oneness and a peaceful Africa. Africa Continental Free Trade. On 21st of March 2018, the agreement was adopted by heads of states with the core objective being to create a single market for goods and services facilitated by the movement of persons for the principal purpose of the economic integration of the African continent. Create a liberalized market for goods and services, as well as contribute to the movement of capital investment and persons. establish the foundation for a continental customs union, promote sustainable, inclusive socio-economic development of the state parties, and enhance the economic competitiveness of the same within the continent and the global market. Promote industrial development, resolve the challenges of multiple overlapping memberships, and expedite the regional and continental integration process. AU Agenda 2063. Let's see them. In January 2015, African heads of states of the African Union assembled in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and adopted the Agenda 2063 with aspirations geared towards Africa as a strong, united, and influential global player and partner, an African with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics, an integration continent politically united and based on the idea of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance, a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. An African whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. An African of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law, a peaceful and secure Africa. Here are our problems and recommendations. We don't just point the problems, but also we have recommendation solution to those problems. We, the African citizens and One Africa advocates, therefore call to the attention all African heads of states and African Union and Pan-African Parliament on the following problems and solutions, summarized in the following categories that we would like to address soonest. The first thing, removal of visa restrictions for all Africans in the continent to immediately facilitate the free movement of Africans within the continent in respect of the protocol to the Abuja Treaty 1991. Prioritizing One Africa passport and availing it to all African citizens and her descendants in the diaspora, the latter of whom were forcibly enslaved by colonizers during the 16th and 19th century. Triangular trade as a gesture of apologizing for what was done to them, welcoming them back to the motherland, and benefiting from their professional expertise and advanced skills. Champion the opening borders policy through opening markets and accelerating intra-regional trade opportunities to curb the high unemployment rate amongst the youth in Africa and their unwarranted risk journeys and inhuman death through the Mediterranean Sea. Africans can never be illegal immigrants in their own continent. They're not immigrants. They're Africans. Expose foreign exploitation of Africa's minerals resources while encouraging skilled Africans in the diaspora to participate in finance mobilizing using African minerals and natural resources available within and from the continent. African Union, AU, to withdraw from receiving partners' funds to sustain its budget and instead exercising its independence by focusing on streamlining revenue, collecting from the member states and African citizens within the continent and diaspora. And let me say this. We here at SNOA, we have done research by asking our people. More than 95% they say we're willing to donate our money, to pay our money to this organization so that they can operate for us, as long as they agree to stop receiving loans and aids. It's time to stop receiving money from US. It's time to stop receiving money from EU. It's time to stop receiving money from France. It's time to stop receiving money from whatever foreign sources. But we as Africans, we can donate our own money. We can give our own money. We can improve our own organization to work for our people. Whoever feeds you controls you. Until the time that we are ready and willing to give our own money to the organization, we're not going to be able to see the change Africa needs, because these guys, they ain't working for us. They're working for somebody who is giving them money, and you can't blame them. Whoever feeds you controls you. So the first thing is this: we cut that dependence and we provide our own money, and we see if you're not going to work for our own people. Immediate implementation of One African currency, a step towards African solution to African problems with African money. I love that. African solutions to Africa's problems with African money. That's what we need. Not with foreign money, with our own currency. Come on, somebody. Aim. This is our aim. We, the African citizen and One Africa advocates, reinforcing the aspirations for the Africa we want, Standing in solidarity with the acceleration of AFCFTA implementation and respecting the sovereignty of each of the African nations, argued the heads of the states, African Union, and Pan-African Parliament. Number one, to urgently set up an immigrant veto system at each boundary crossing point of all respective countries in preparation for an immediate open borders policy across Africa. Second, to collapse the African borders and allow every African holding one African passport to traverse freely across the continent as one person without visa requirement. Third, to expose illegitimate militarism in Africa and the rural armed conflict, some facilitated by foreign powers, have played and contributed to the climate adversaries on the continent. Therefore, inhibiting the liberatory or otherwise economic development. Number four, to expose institutions and individuals, enemies of Africa, funding terrorism and transnational organized crime that are destabilizing Africa. Justification. We, the undersigned African citizen and One Africa advocates, convinced that Africa, her descendants within the continent and in the diaspora, inclusive of her natural, minerals, and human resources, is capable of being an equal, global partner with other continents, and the time to unite is long overdue. Building on the aspiration of Africans for the Africa we want, embedded on the strong, united, and influential global player and partner. Recognizing the urgent need to demonstrate willingness to fast-track the Abuja Treaty of 1991 by looking inwards to mobilize African resources that will finance and accelerate our industrial development. Critical of the presence of foreign military bases on our motherland and the threats to our security these bases pose to our continent and our people. And let me just say this, man. There are 20 military foreign bases in Africa. It's time for you guys to go. The time is up. One Africa is here. And get out of Africa. The security of Africa is the most important thing than everything else. And for all those years since we received independence, we haven't been safe. We have been threatened. It's time to come to an end. Number 5, in protecting our beautiful motherland, Africa, and declaring our continent is not a battleground for proxy wars between French troops, US, NATO troops, European Union, Takuba, forces versus Russian and China, and that all foreign military bases on the continent should be removed as soon as possible. Further, recognizing the pivotal role of African Continental Free Trade Area plays in empowering and uplifting African women and youth, the backbone of society, towards economic independence and development. Guys, when you say African women, we mean African women. Youth, we mean both ladies and gentlemen. So all of us, we are there. This is very pivotal to Africa's independence and development. Number 7, unify to accelerate the integration of Africa's markets to provide massive employment, boost regional trade, and economic prosperity amongst our youth population. On behalf of Swahili Nation One Africa, SNOA, its member and all people, championing for unification of Africa, we strongly re-echo our forefathers, foremothers, Pan-African call for African and her diaspora to unite right now and realize African renaissance and prosperity in our lifetime. Hashtag One Africa in our generation. Hashtag One Africa right now. Concerning all of the above, we, the undersigned and One Africa advocates, call upon all African heads of state and the African Union and Pan-African Parliament to take immediate measure and concrete actions. Therefore, hold an urgent extraordinary session of the Assembly of the Union and declare a One Africa right now and not in 2063. With utmost sincerity, Swahili Nation One Africa and all the undersigned. Guys, we need One Africa right now. Things that are happening in Niger, things that are happening in the continent of Africa, in Ethiopia, in Congo, in Sudan, in Somalia, in everywhere in this continent. It has to come to an end. We have struggled and battled for a long time. We have cried and lost our loved ones for long times. We've lost our leaders. Some of them were killed for a long time. Until when are we going to remain silent and let the devil win? Until when are we going to remain silent and let the enemy take over our continent? Until when are we going to remain silent and let them take over our country and sell us and do whatever they want to do with this continent? Until when are we going to feed the entire world and yet killing ourselves? Until when this continent is going to sustain the world and not sustain itself? Until when are we going to stay back and watch the brothers and sisters of Africa being killed, tortured, dying out the Mediterranean seas, calling them illegal migrants while they're in their own continent? Until when are we going to entertain division? Are we going to entertain killings of our people, especially by the enemies of Africa and by the betrayers of Africa? Because enemy is not just out there, enemy is inside here. Until when are we going to be silent? Until when we, the children of God, are going to remain silent to watch Africa being destroyed, Africa be crumbled, Africa be torn apart, Africa be enjoyed by them and not Africans? Until when are we going to stay silent and watch our women, our youth, and our brothers and sisters and our dads hustling and struggling in the village, not having food, yet we have a fertile land because we have people who are not standing and working for this continent? Until when are we going to see puppets standing for Westerners and Easterners? Until when are we going to depend on the loans and aids and money that they give us that basically is our own money? Because they take it from our resources and they bring it to us as aids and loan. Until when are we going to stay there and watch all these things happening? Until when? It's time to wake up right now. It's time to stand up right now. One Africa right now is what we need. Not after 40 years from now. 40 years, man. A lot of us are not going to be here. We need it right now for the sake of our next generation, for the sake of the youth of this continent. Africa must work for Africans. Africa, solutions to African problem with African money. It must happen right now. So I'm calling upon all Africans. I'm calling upon all leaders. It's time to stand up. It's time to forget about all these politics that we have. It's time to look at the humanity that we're losing our people's life. It's time to stand. It's not time to be afraid. It's not a time to be scared. It's time to sanction ourselves. When we sanction ourselves, we basically sanction them and tell them, you know what? We're going to figure out these things on ourselves. And we can only partner with people who can respect us and treat us as human beings, not less than animals. Because that's what is happening. We're being treated less than animals. That we cannot do anything, cannot decide anything for ourselves. The time has come, and the time is now for African sons and daughters to raise up and to fight for the mother Africa. The time has come, and the time is now for African diaspora to come back to the continent, to stand for this continent. The time has come, and the time is now for you to be awakening, for you to change, for you to speak out, for you to shout out, for you to let the whole world know that our one Africa right now is what we need. And we are going to transform this Africa. Not Europeans, not Russians, not Americans, not Chinese, not Asians. No one else can transform this continent but Africans. The time is now for us to do it. The time is now to work it right now. The time is now for us to take action. And this is the action to save our people in Niger, to save our people in Ethiopia, to save our people in Sudan, to save our people in this continent. We cannot just sit and wait for another war to break out in another African country right now. We cannot wait for that, because we have been seeing that again and again and again. And the time has come for us to put it to an end by uniting, because the solution to Africa's problem is unity. Nyerere said, without unity, there'll be no future for Africa. And we're witnessing it right now. Kwame Nkrumah said, Africa must unite now. We are saying, one Africa right now. Right now. This is because we've lost a lot of people in our lives. We lost our brothers. We lost our families, our members. We lost our parents. We are losing them right now. The blood has been shed in Africa for so long. It's too much to bear. It's too much to sit and to stay silent. It's too much to just sit in the state house and enjoy the taxes of our people. It's too much taking loans and not do anything for your people. It's too much. It's too much. The time to wake up and to work for your people. And we, ordinary folk, we are the one losing everything. Because when the economic inflation happening in our countries, when all these attacks happening in our countries, the ones who are affected are not leaders, not politicians. You guys are not affected at all. You have money. You can do whatever the heck you want to do. You can leave today, Africa, and never come back. You have everything you got. But we, the ordinary folk, we're the ones that are suffering and hustling and struggling and being killed. It's a time to play your part. And I'll be a hypocrite if I don't finish by saying this, that Africa needs the King of Kings. Africa needs God. We need to turn back to God. We need to call upon His name and ask for His forgiveness and ask for this continent to come back to its feet. Because no leader can do that. No organization can do that. We have seen that. You know, before United Nations, they had League of Nations, and they opened that because they wanted to stop wars. But it did not work. Therefore, they decided to come up with United Nations so that the wars can be reduced in the continent of Africa. But let me tell you this, after creation of United Nations, the wars that have been happening in Africa since then until right now, it's like never before. Nothing like that has ever happened. What does that tell you? No United Nation, no African Union, no ECOWAS, no any organization can stop what is happening in Africa. With God, we're going to do mighty things. With you guys, we're going to do mighty things. With the unity of Africa, unison of Africa, Africa will never remain the same. And it's about time for you guys to raise up. It's about time for you guys to wake up. And we have already woken up. Africans are ready to stand and to fight for one Africa. Africans are ready to stand and to defend this mother Africa. Leaders, we are asking you, African Union, wake up. Heads of the states, wake up. Pan-African Parliament, wake up and stand for the people of Africa. That's the only thing we want. That's the only thing we're asking for, to stand for the people of Africa. And it's a time to stop receiving these loans and aid. If you guys are using, well, the resources and the taxes and the money from the continent, removing corruptions in our governments, we are willing to pay and to give to develop this continent. Ethiopia have shown that by donating all the money 100% for that dam, the biggest dam in Africa. We can do it. We are ready. I did research and everybody is ready to contribute. We are ready to contribute. Even me, I'm ready to contribute. Even if it's monthly, I'm ready to contribute. A lot of us, we have subscription in Netflix, we have subscription in the YouTube Premium, we have subscription in of the different Hulu TV, different like Apple TV, different stuff. We have subscription and we give a lot of money to them. Why not giving those money to African Union so that you guys can save our thing? You guys can work for us. Let me tell you this, we are ready to do that. But you must be committed. You must be honest with the money that is coming in. And you must show how you're going to do it. We want one Africa passport. We want visa free. We want one Africa currency. We want one army. We want everything in our continent. We want one language, official language for our continent. Yes, we can have different languages. You can speak whatever language you want to speak in your countries. But we need to have a language that can unify all of us. That can represent us as one Africa. And no other than Swahili language. Because majority of Africans are speaking that. Let's learn each other's language. Let's understand each other's language. Let's understand each other's culture. It's time to stop learning French language, Chinese language in our country, and all this foreign language. Yes, if you want, you can learn. It's fine. For the global market, it's fine. But we must emphasize on Africa's matters. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Go sign the petition. Share the petition with everyone you know. We need 100 million signatures to share the word with everybody that Africa is ready for one Africa, and you want it to happen right now. I love you. May God bless Africa. May God bless Africans all inside the continent and outside the continent, because Africa is one big family with 55 children, 54 countries in the continent, and one diaspora all across the world. May God bless our leaders and our people. Let there be peace. Let there be unity. Let there be love. In precious name of Christ I pray. Amen.